Welcome to another episode of the Happy Hour podcast. I am your host, Ricky. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the Pro Bowl. No, I'm just kidding. We might for like 30 seconds. But today we're going to talk about, I love the opening introduction. I love the name that you put out, the lull before the big game. And that's exactly what this is. But what we're going to do is we're going to discuss a few things that happened this week, including Tom Brady's retirement, which he posted another video today, and then I watched it, and then I cried, and then I watched it again and cried again. I'm not emotionally prepared to even discuss this topic right now, so it's still heavy on my heart. But we're going to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl, half a second on the Pro Bowl. We're going to talk about some quarterbacks, some stock up, stock down situations with some quarterbacks across the NFL, and of course, we'll end it with our movie corner. As always, I am joined by my partner here, Mr. Matthew Fox. How are you, buddy?
You know, it's been such a long, strange week that I actually didn't remember that I wrote that title. I thought you put that in, and I was like, oh, what a clever title.
It's actually brilliant. So I was like, this is great. I'm going to use this in my opening, guaranteed. You know what I mean? Like, it was no doubt about it. It was going to happen. But, yeah. So, yeah.
It's really Apocalypse 2022 here.
Yes.
We got anywhere between 8 and 15 inches, depending on where you are in the city. And this morning, no one was above zero. So it's been this is day 2 of our campus being closed and me working at home, hence my sweater in the basement.
Hey, I mean, the good thing about it is you get to work from home, right? You know what I mean? That's always the plus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The bad thing is I think they get more out of me because last time I'm the one that has to trigger all of our cancellation warnings and stuff. And since the school district here first put out that they were on a 2-hour delay, and as soon as they did it, I started noticing the comments on their posts. They were getting eaten alive by the parents. And I was like, they're going to have to move to full closure. 9:45, they moved to full closure. So I had to get back up, get my computer out, and I didn't sleep. Because I'm old, so I woke up at 5:15 and started working again.
Exactly. Yeah, it is, though. I do feel the same way. Just because you're working from home does not mean you work any less. Like, I try to explain that to people sometimes. They don't always understand it. Huh?
You probably do more. You don't have those minutes where you go get coffee and end up
you're not distracted. You don't have people come in and trying to talk to you. You don't have the Monday morning quarterback happening or anything like that. But enough about our jobs. We talk about those way too much. We're here. But a few big news of the week. We have the Washington Commanders now instead of the football team. I would have rather them stayed with the football team because I think the decision's stupid. Josh McDaniels, head coach of the Raiders. I like it. I'm lukewarm on it right now because I would like to see what he's going to do throughout the offseason. I don't hate McDaniels. I don't mind him getting another opportunity to be a head coach because that's what it is. And then, of course, Brian Flores. If there's any, and I do think there's some truth to what he's saying, or a lot of truth probably to what he's saying. I hope that he runs to the bank on the NFL because the NFL is just the NFL. We all know that. But your thoughts on all 3 things that transpired this week outside of the Brady retirement?
So Commanders is a total bummer. I'm with you. Washington football team would have been better. I don't really know what they're going for there. The best thing that I've seen about the Commanders was somebody posted a meme saying if this guy with a picture of Cobra Commander isn't the new mascot, they've all missed the boat. But it was a weird choice to have taken 2 years to arrive there. I mean, if you were going to go with some kind of weird military one, I don't know why they didn't go with generals, which was kind of a popular potential option. But, Washington football team, what are you going to do? The Brian Flores one is interesting. It'll be curious to see how it plays out. I had thought he was potentially a top candidate for a couple of these jobs this offseason, most notably Houston, because he's been very interested in Deshaun Watson. Watson seems interested in him. I thought that would be a way for Houston to make that work. It'll be curious to see what happens. I'm not really going to comment on his case. We'll have to see that play out. But the one thing I think this brings up is something, I think we've talked about before. I like the idea of the Rooney Rule, and I think it's very important to give people of color and minorities a chance at these jobs that they weren't getting before. I'm not sure the NFL is deploying in practice the spirit with which that rule was created. So if nothing else, I hope that gets a hard look this offseason. Simply doing token interviews, which is essentially the case being made against the Giants is not a good look. And it's been something that's certainly been a curiosity over the last, not just this offseason, but several off seasons in the hiring process. So I'll be curious to see about that. McDaniels, you probably are okay with it because you never had to suffer through him as a coach, but I'm torn because I'm also not looking for the Raiders to be a great franchise. So that's fine. What is a bummer to me is I have said a couple of times I thought Rich Bisaccia did a wonderful job, and I feel like he got robbed of an opportunity to continue that work. I think, had earned the right to get to be the guy. And the immediate reaction from his players, who didn't seem to tweet anything about McDaniels, but seemed to say a lot about how grateful they are for what Rich Bisaccia did, seems to signify the same thing. It's not an incredible surprise because it seems like Mark Davis wanted a big splashy name. That's what he's wanted. That's why he got Gruden in the first place. And this is a big splashy name. You know, McDaniel said he learned a lot from his Denver experience. The one good thing I'm going to say to you Raiders fans is you don't have a star-laden team for him to dismantle. So you don't have to worry about him coming in and trading all your stars away on offense.
Yeah, like I said, the thing about it is can McDaniels fail? Sure, absolutely. But I do like the idea of seeing, because he did have some moments where I did think that he had some decent moments in Denver. But ultimately, the demise of Josh McDaniels was Josh McDaniels and what he did whenever he came in there. I think he came in with a more arrogant approach to Denver. And I think that this time could be a lot more different because I know they're not giving him the keys to the city the same way Denver decided to. So I do think that's going to help him as well. But I do think that he does build a solid offense. We didn't see a whole lot. I think that his offense is not built for a Mac Jones, in my opinion. And that's why I think that he maybe wanted to kind of get out of New England. Obviously, a head coaching job is more attractive. But I do think that he can improve upon some of the fantasy options that are in Las Vegas. I was about to say Oakland. In Las Vegas. But we're, like
they
I
move
said,
around every couple of years. They'll get back
exactly
eventually.
I'm sure they'll be in Los Angeles the week after. I don't even know. But some quick hits. Super Bowl. Obviously, we did see the Bengals come back and beat the Chiefs. That was an impressive victory, in my opinion. I was not surprised the Rams came back and beat the 49ers just because of the way that Shanahan conservatively called his play calling as the game progressed. When you're ahead, you can't get he just got way too conservative. And the reason I think the Chiefs lost the game outside of Patrick Mahomes was the play calling. I think the play calling was atrocious. They started that game. They were ripping off 6 and 7 yard carries with Jerick McKinnon at running back. Like he was torching the Bengals defense. And then just for some reason, they decided to throw the ball. And I understand, I think the problem with the Chiefs is kind of that same mentality the Seahawks had in the Super Bowl with Russell Wilson. We don't want to make Marshawn Lynch the hero. We want to make Russell Wilson the hero type scenario. And I think that they have a hero approach with Mahomes when in all honesty, they need to run the ball better, right? The thing about it is they don't run the ball good. You didn't draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire to be on the bench during the playoffs the way he has been. And taking care of, Jerick McKinnon, which, don't get me wrong, McKinnon looked great. He looked great in that game. But you got away from the run, even though you're up double-digit points. 3 touchdowns. You're up 3 scores. And you're not running the ball as much as you should have. Now, don't get me wrong. A credit to the Bengals defense for stepping up in the second half. But I do think a lot of that has to do with the play calling there. What did you think of that second half? Like, they scored 3 points in the second half. And I looked at it, and everybody's like, oh, well, the defense played good. Yeah, they did. But they had 7 possessions in the second half and only scored 3 points.
See, that's what happened to them in the first game when they played the Bengals, too. The Bengals defense was able to make adjustments and take away what was working and force them into things that weren't working in the second half. And I thought they did that again on Sunday. Plus, the Chiefs did some curious things. That end of the first half possession down by the goal line, they got too cute and worked themselves out of points. I don't know if it was a little bit of arrogance because at some points in that first half, I didn't even know if the Bengals were trying. It was a remarkable comeback. But sometimes teams just don't match up well. I thought the two biggest keys to that game were the Bengals defense making adjustments. They did work. When Chiefs did try to run in the second half, they weren't getting that kind of success. They shored up that defense, which is probably what pushed Reed toward his natural tendency, which is to throw. But the biggest thing I thought the Bengals did was their line played a hell of a lot better, because in the divisional round, Joe Burrow got sacked 9 times, got destroyed. I thought facing Melvin Ingram and Chris Jones, that was going to be the biggest thing. They were able to keep him up, and they were able to keep quick, crisp passes. They didn't have those gaudy numbers, but it was able to keep him up, and they were able to run enough to damage that Chiefs defense to get enough points to win. I thought those were the two big keys.
Yeah, which was impressive, because even in the second half, down 3 scores, the Bengals were still able to hold Burrow upright, right? Because whenever you're down 3 scores in the second half of the game, you know it's going to be very pass heavy, right? So you're going to have to pass the ball a lot. And he did a great job. I think he did a great job maneuvering in the pocket too. But the thing about it is if you noticed, if you're not getting a whole lot of pressure on him, he's really good at escaping the pressure. But if you're in his lap, and that's for any quarterback, right? That's the way to beat any quarterback, is to keep hitting him. We saw it with Brady over the years. We saw it with Manning. You have to keep hitting them. And obviously, I think they really got lucky against the Titans. You know what I mean? Like, it was their inept quarterback play. Any chance to throw a sly at Tannehill here, but it was their inept quarterback play that really kind of, in my opinion, cost him the game. He threw that interception when he didn't have to, but there's no reason you should sack a quarterback 9 times and not win a football game. But the Chiefs did not get that pressure that I think we all thought. Now, it'll be interesting to see what Von Miller and Aaron Donald do, because so in my head, and obviously I said the Chiefs, I thought the Chiefs were going to win by double digits. I was wrong. And I'm okay with being wrong. My bets were good, though. My bets look good. I just want to throw that out there. My bets look good. 5-1 last week. But with that being said, I really feel like I'm scared this has the Seahawks Broncos Super Bowl feel to. I'm sorry to bring that one up. I apologize in advance, but it really has that feel to it, right? Where was it the Seahawks Broncos? Am I right with that?
So
what's the blowout? Which one was the blowout?
I mean, that was a blowout, but that was actually,
or maybe
I don't think that fits these teams, because
maybe
the
the
Seahawks
Broncos
were like the number 1
Panthers.
defense. They were all
Broncos
defense.
Panthers, maybe, I don't know.
And the Broncos, that was the year they had set all the records on offense. I don't think.
I'm just thinking of in my head, I guess I'm thinking of more of a lopsided Super Bowl. Like, that's what I'm.
Yeah, that one was lopsided.
It was, but I agree with you going into it. It's a little. I thought the narrative was different going into it. Obviously, we have 2 4 seeds here, but with that being said, I feel like on the flip side of that, I feel like score wise is what I'm thinking, not necessarily game script wise. I really feel like Donald and Miller and that secondary. Like, they could really do some damage on Burrow. If they get to Burrow as fast as the Titans did, this game's going to be long, because I'm not sure the secondary can really hold up against Kupp and OBJ, which is he's having a nice little resurgence in this playoff. And I think that he is the X factor for the Rams in this game. I really do. Like, Kupp is going to Kupp, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy to me. In back-to-back weeks, we've seen him get wide open on a defense. And it makes no sense. The best player on that offense is Cooper Kupp. And somehow we've seen him manage to come back almost not single-handedly, but he single-handedly has helped the Rams back into a position of victory in 2 consecutive weeks on his ability to route run and the ability to get away from the defense. And whenever he does catch the ball, it's impossible to bring the guy. You think he's Derrick Henry in this playoff run right now, because his ability to escape the tackles has been really nice. But it's going to be interesting.
I'm going to be curious too. So against the Cardinals, I was amazed at what Cam Akers was doing, and he looked really good. He had fumble issues against the Buccaneers. I didn't think he looked very good in the NFC Championship game, and he got banged up. It looks like Darrell Henderson may get activated. I'll be curious to see what their running back rotation is, because I think for the Rams, they need to get some decent production to have a little bit of balance to help keep them from falling, into traps. I get what you're saying about their defense. I am worried about the Rams front four if I'm Cincinnati, but the secondary is more of a question to me because Eric Weddle it's a nice story, but he hasn't looked great. Maybe Taylor Rapp is back and maybe that helps him. Jaylen Ramsey is the one that's been curious to me because especially that Tampa Bay game, you saw him very vocally tell his teammate, "You're no longer on Mike Evans. You can't cover him," and promptly get torched for the longest play of the game.
I did love his tweet.
He has a few plays every game where I don't know if he's taking a gamble or he just thinks he's got it and doesn't quite have it. Jamar Chase, he doesn't play.
Yeah, and they do
make a mistake, and that's.
I do think it's important for the Bengals to establish that run game as well. They need to get the ball, or they need to run because the thing about it is nobody's playing for ball control. And I've noticed that through this playoffs, it's weird to me that some of these teams that get ahead aren't really taking advantage of the run. And you don't always have to get 5 yards per carry. You just have to run the ball at least. You know what I mean? Like there were several times, and I think I calculated. I was talking to somebody about it, and I got furious about it because I think that the second half shoulders the blame on part of like 50% the play calling and 50% on Mahomes because there was those two passes. There should have been 3. Don't get me wrong, the Chiefs should have probably won the game because of that. The 49ers game. But the Chiefs, he threw 2 interceptions, and one of them was just downright brutal. And he tries to get too. I don't know. He's too fancy too sometimes. You know what I mean? I think Mahomes likes to out Mahomes himself sometimes, and that's where he ends up. He's like Brett Favre, except for he's a lot faster. You know what I mean? Like Favre took chances and paid for it a lot. You know what I mean? That's why he has the most interceptions in NFL history and probably will hold that record until forever, probably. Because I think I always joke and say if Favre would have played in modern day, I don't think he would have lasted as long because those years of 30 and 35 interceptions or whatever it was would not hold candle right now in the NFL. They just wouldn't. And I mean, it just, yeah. So, all right, Pro Bowl. And do you care? I've never cared. I don't think I've ever cared.
No, I'm legitimately not gonna. Sunday is a big day for us, which we'll touch on more at the end. But it's also they have a special thing at work, so I'm gonna probably be at work until 6 Eastern, and then I'm gonna be back here prepping to do my live on air voting. The Pro Bowl is probably still the weakest of all the pro sports all-star games. It's hard to care about that.
Bring back the quarterback club.
It used to be, I heard Peyton Manning talk about it once. It used to be kind of exciting for them when it took place the week after the Super Bowl, because sometimes you'd have those guys that were in the Super Bowl come and it could be kind of like a victory lap time. Them sticking it where they have now, you always get it limited, and you can tell players don't care that much about it because a lot of them have pulled out because they're beat up.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's weird to kind of watch. And then, of course, by the time the Pro Bowl happens, no matter when it is, so many people drop out. Then, random quarterbacks are playing quarterback because they, their ninth alternate in there.
And if it was going to be like Brady's last game or something like that, you might tune in for something like that. But most of the time, the rules are altered, and you don't get the best players.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the problem too. All right, so real quick, a few bets that I'm on before next week's game. I do like OBJ anytime touchdown plus 130, OBJ over 64.5 yards, which is minus 110. Rams first half minus 1. I think these lines are a little bit juicier than I expected. I think that the line, I think as it sits right now, is 4. I think the game is at 4 right now, which is still very a toss-up in a lot of aspects. It's up to 4.5. It's at 4.5. But with that being said, I'm still 50-50 on how I feel. I really do feel like I expect a Rams double-digit win, but, I've been wrong a lot in this playoffs. But the Rams were also my NFC team at the beginning of the year to go to the Super Bowl. I just had them losing to the wrong team. But with that being said, that's it. I think that's it. Did we cover everything in the – quarterbacks. Shit, I forgot about those. All right, so we'll just I'm going to name the guys off. You tell me stock up, stock down. Just if you want to have a quick thought of them, that's fine. Jimmy G.
I think he's stock up because he's proven that he's going to be a starter somewhere. Tampa, Pittsburgh, Denver. I think it's one of those three.
Jimmy G in Denver, what you've always dreamed. I agree with that. I think it depends on his landing spot and whether or not I feel like he's fantasy relevant. He's going to start no matter what. I don't care what anybody says, anybody thinks. He did look good against the Rams. He did. Like, of course, at the end of the game, he made a bonehead mistake.
Yeah, well, Aaron Donald was about to end his life. He just trying to get the ball up.
Exactly. So with that being said, Ryan Tannehill, stock up, stock down.
I think stock down. It was not a good look the way they lost, and there are a lot of rumblings right now of them courting Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I saw they bought some property here in Tennessee. The crazy thing about it is it's going to be a cap disaster one way or another because, I mean,
the cap's a myth, as we've seen.
It really is. But the dead money is what I'm really like. There's a lot of dead money involved with this contract. He's like owed like $67 million or some shit like that. So,
well, I think they'll be able to ship Tannehill somewhere, which would kind of offset some of the dead cap. I think that 2 years ago, it seemed like he had researched his career and it was a magical run for
it was a lie.
Tennessee.
It was a lie.
We've seen as we went along. Yes.
I should have picked Brady. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Well, and I think Tennessee is to the point where they've gone as far as they're gonna go with Tannehill, and I would not be surprised to see them make some kind of move.
I don't think Tannehill goes anywhere. I think that I honestly feel like this is going to be another year of him and Henry together again, and I just don't know how I feel about it. Teddy Bridgewater, stock up, stock down.
I think he's stock down. We saw a career year from him, and most people have kind of sloughed it off. He might go somewhere as a bridge quarterback. He might, if Denver decides to take a rookie quarterback, they may keep him as a bridge quarterback. But for fantasy purposes, you should be selling.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think he might end up in Washington. That's one place I think that I wouldn't be surprised to see him land as a bridge there for somebody because we know Kyle Allen or Wade, whatever the other guy,
or back in New Orleans.
Well, depend. I think the quarterback landing spot for New Orleans is going to be interesting because it's going to depend on who their quarterback is too. I think Trey Lance, through the moon. I
would sell if I could. I do not believe he's going to be a good prospect. I think that they think they're dumping Alex Smith for Patrick Mahomes, and I think they're dumping Alex Smith for Paxton Lynch.
I like Lance's opportunity to play, and I think that he has ability. I was skeptical of him coming out. I just think that he's going to have every opportunity over the next 2 or 3 years to really have that job. And obviously I think as he goes is as Shanahan's going to go as well. I really feel that way too.
Which
could be a big
honest. They could both be out in 2023.
I think Shanahan might have bought himself just a little bit more time, and it depends on what they do. If they go 4-12 or whatever, 4-13, whatever the magic number of 17 is now, if they do have a terrible season, I could agree with you 100%. It wouldn't surprise me. Kirk Cousins.
So when they fired Zimmer, I thought it was a little bit of stock up because it seemed like there was shaping to be a conflict between him and Zimmer, and one of them was going to go. And it seemed like when Zimmer went that he kind of won that. But there are a lot of rumblings that they're looking to dump him. And honestly, he's fine, but he's not going to win you anything. My biggest nightmare is that cap fucking disaster gets shipped to Denver.
And that's the thing. The thing about it is where he's at now, he has weapons. Like he produces. He's just not an every week producer, and that's the problem. Like, and that's the thing with a lot of the issues that I've had with the quarterback position and the tight end position in fantasy. You have guys that are in the top 12 based solely on 3 or 4 weeks that they had where they were really, really good. And that's the stranglehold that these positions put on you because then you start to overvalue them because, oh, well, look, Kirk Cousins was a top 12 quarterback again. Well, then, yeah, but what about the 5 weeks that he had 6 points or 5? You know, he didn't help you win those games. And I'm just throwing out numbers in my head right now. I'm not; those aren't accurate numbers. They might not be. But it's just there's not a lot of consistently weekly quarterbacks that are going to get you those points. And I think that now more than ever it's not a bad option to have 2 quarterbacks on your roster. If you're not, especially if you're only in a 1 quarterback league, 2 quarterback leagues, I think you're just screwed. You know what I mean? I really, unless you're drafting,
you need to have 5.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like I'm the guy in 2 quarterback leagues that draft like 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the first couple of rounds, and everybody, what are you doing? I'm like, wait till round 12, and you're drafting, Mason Rudolph. You know what I mean? So.
Well, and you never know with high-profile injuries and stuff, too.
That's a segue, by the way. Mason Rudolph.
He's probably stock up. It sounded like they were going to keep Haskins, who's a restricted free agent. Rudolph's under contract. They are not typically the franchise to go out and get somebody, whereas if they were inclined to go get like a Jimmy G, I think that would be better for them. I actually think they're probably going to take a quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round and not even do a 1st round. And Mason Rudolph's going to end up the nominal starter there. We've seen Pittsburgh.
That's terrible.
Well, it's brutal if you have Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. I mean, Najee could be fine. They really do need to improve the offensive line. I don't honestly know if any quarterback can thrive there with the line they have. But with Rudolph being 1 year left, I wouldn't be surprised if they do a 1-year tender on Haskins, try to roll the dice, maybe get a Desmond Ridder or something in the 2nd round and see what they've got and see what they can do.
Matt
Ryan actually might be a little bit stock up. I don't think they're going to move him for tons of cap reasons. Yeah. It's interesting. They look like they're about to move Ridley, so something must have broken down there. I actually think there's a decent chance they take a receiver high, even though they have other needs. I think Ryan's been okay, and don't look now, but he's probably the best quarterback in his division currently. And that's because Brady retired.
And that's not saying much. I think
Atlanta was on the cusp of being in the playoffs, even with what they had to work with. A couple of additions we've seen. He's not totally washed. He made Russell, he made do with Russell Gage and bringing Kyle Pitts along and not really having much of a running game.
Yeah, but down the stretch, he just was not that great. You know what I mean? He wasn't. And that's the big thing. I mean, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4. He had 4 touchdown passes in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 last 9 weeks of the season. And obviously, again, that could be a lot of the testament to what the weapons they had there. I do think Cordell Patterson's gone, and I do think that's going to hinder their offense. I don't think he comes back because I don't really think – I think somebody's going to throw ridiculous numbers at Cordell Patterson, which good for him, but – he's not going to be able to replicate the year that he had. I'm sorry. I don't feel like he's going to.
It's just, where we're looking at the quarterback landscape right now, if you were trying to protect yourself and with guaranteed QB1s and QB2s, I feel like Ryan probably is a mid to low end QB2, but I feel pretty solid that as long as he doesn't get hurt, he's starting 17 games. For
that's the big thing. You're right there. On the flip side of that is the 1,000% what to look at. Aaron Rodgers holding me personally. I just want to touch on this. I don't really know. I'm going to hold pattern. If you could trade him and somebody's willing to give you something of value for him, I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Rodgers retired. Like, it wouldn't surprise me. Now, do I think he does? I think it's 50-50. Like, I really genuinely do. Now, part of me feels like he might wait because if he retires now, you're talking about a 2027, is it, class of where it's him, Brady, Ben. Like, that'd be a hell of – and then, of course, Gronk. I think Gronk's retiring. I really do. He's done. I think he's done. But I think he might wait a year just to get it because he is an arrogant son of a bitch. I'm sorry, he is. So I feel like he's going to be a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? He is. But I feel like he's the type of guy that's like a see me type thing. And the year that he would go in would not be about him at all. Like, it would be 100% about Brady. So I'm holding. I don't think he plays another down in Green Bay.
Yeah, I think he's done in Green Bay. I'm with you. It's probably about 50-50 for me because I think he's honestly done with the NFL a little bit. I think he's been frustrated. We've heard some of that frustration going through. It depends on his offers. The Green Bay wants a ton to release him. It sounds like he only wanted to go somewhere if he could go with Adams. I don't even know if Tennessee can make that work.
It would be interesting to see if they could. Like they would have to really fluctuate a lot of cap. I've looked at the numbers. Tennessee would have to do a lot. They'd have to cut a lot in order to receive both of those contracts in. There's not a lot of teams. I wouldn't be surprised to see, it would be interesting to see but I saw somebody say something about him going to Tampa. That would be intriguing. There's a lot of different options for him. I just don't really care to really dive in until I see where he goes or if he does or doesn't go, because if you're trading for him now, you run the risk of him retiring and just saying screw the NFL, because his afterlife outside the NFL is going to be massive for him. It really is. It doesn't matter what you say. I mean, look at some of the public speaking figures of today. It wouldn't surprise me a bit. So with that transition, we're going to move on to our movie corner. So thank you those tune in and who continue to listen to the rest of the show. We thank you as well. But a few things this Sunday, the big North American Film Critic Association, something that Matthew Fox and I and Amanda founded together. And it's running their big award show. We're running our big award show on Sunday live. We're trying to do something a little bit different. We're having everybody vote for their nominees, for the person they want to win each category live on the air. It's going to be a lot of fun, 8 p.m. Eastern on this very same YouTube channel. Or if you go on Google and or YouTube and search just the Music City Drive, and you'll find it under that branch. I'm excited for the show. And then, of course, this weekend, we got a couple good movies, or I don't want to say good, a couple movies releasing. I really like Jackass. Speaking of Jackass, Jaylen Ramsey's in it. That was funny. It was funny to see him. I didn't really mean to correlate Jackass and Jaylen Ramsey in the same sentence, but here we are. But with that being said, Jackass releases. And then, of course, we have Moonfall, which I know you are going to see this weekend, correct?
Yes, big date night tomorrow night. Hopefully the deep freeze has somewhat thawed out. My wife and I already have our XD tickets, and we pre-bought all of we're having a movie theater dinner. They're going to bring us pizza and popcorn and candy and drinks to our seats, which is one of the features I love. I am a big Roland Emmerich fan, not because he makes incredibly quality films, but I love disaster films. I and Jenna put out our favorite and least favorite disaster films. I didn't go with his, but if you go back and look at my binge watch archive, I actually did a Roland Emmerich binge watch archive, picking his movies once. I loved Independence Day, Day After Tomorrow. 2012 has its moments, so Moonfall is right up my alley.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to see it now. I'm not 100% sure. I think my wife wants to go see Jackass instead, so we're going to go catch that in theaters. So I might try to fit it in there. Speaking of which, make sure to check out the newly founded bananameter.com. I've got segues on segues here, Matthew. I figured you'd be slightly impressed with my work today. You know what I mean? I've done some pretty good segues here. Well,
you did have that month off to prepare.
Ouch, that hurts my soul a little bit. But with that being said, make sure to check out the Bananameter. It's an alternative. It's fun with I think a lot of underrepresented voices in the world of film, talking about films that they're going bananas for. Does it sound crazy? Yes, it is. Is it crazy? Yes, it is. But is it fun? Absolutely. We put up our initial reaction. We had, I think, 13 or 14 critics go up on their initial reaction of Jackass. On Sunday, I will be dropping 2 articles. The official rating of both Moonfall and Jackass Forever will be going up. Right now, as it sits, Jackass was sitting at 78%, which is pretty good, the ripe status on the Bananameter. So it'll be interesting to see what it does. I know I saw about 5 or 10 more people add their rating to it. I just haven't been able to calculate it. But make sure to check out the bananameter.com. Check out the Music City Drive-In for all the latest stuff from Matthew Fox and I. We've got a lot of content going up each and every day, including that disaster piece that we both talked about. Next week, Matthew Fox and I will be breaking down the Super Bowl. And then Super Bowl Sunday, we're going to be doing a special show. Clarkson and I think, are going to be able to do a show Sunday morning talking about some bets. We have a few guests lining up. Which would be interesting because a lot of the show, if you miss the live, all the bets that I talk about Friday or Thursday or Friday, whenever we do the happy hour show, probably the same bets on that show. So if you can't listen to one, listen to the other. But if you listen to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour, that'll make us very happy. Fox, I think that's all I've got. I'm off to see the Death on the Nile tonight. So
yeah, I'm excited for that one. I'm taking my wife. My wife's next week. She wants to see that, but she's incredibly pumped for Marry Me, which is why I did. Next week's binge watch is Jennifer Lopez films.
Yeah, but you can watch that one
Today, as you're speaking of segues on segues, in honor of Death on the Nile, binge watch, which comes out this afternoon, is Kenneth Branagh directed films, since he directed that one. But I think I will end up seeing Jackass on Saturday, because you and I are both in that banana meter. I'm committed to making all of them work. The biggest one, though, which we've got to mention, is Sunday night. This Sunday night, don't watch the Pro Bowl. Fuck the Pro Bowl. You can come watch us and all of the crew at the North American Film Critics Association on air vote for our year-end awards.
Yeah, and when you do that, you'll hear us talking about how great Zack Snyder's Justice League cut is, because now Zack Snyder is a big fan of the North American Film Critic Group, if you didn't already know.
You can watch me vote for Mass in 20 categories and shed a tear every time it loses.
Hey, but at least BAFTA nominated and out, so that's a plus. So maybe that's a precursor for Tuesday. And then Tuesday, the Oscars are coming. I'm ready to break something. So it's going to be cool. If you want to watch me live break something, you'll probably be able to see me at some point, sometime on Tuesday, breaking something while I'm at work, more than likely, because I'm in the office next week. So thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the things that we said in the last 36 minutes, because it was a lot. We like to give you so much information. And then next week, make sure to tune in to the special Super Bowl edition, when Fox and I break down the Super Bowl, and I give you way too many bets to bet way too much money. But you know what? When you have a record like I do, you follow the dollar signs, guys. You follow the dollar signs.
Even better than that, you're going to shout out all the props, and you're going to have me, who is not a great gambler, telling you.
Exactly. And then Matthew Fox is going to be like, no, you're an idiot. But then I'm going to be like, do you remember that Raiders game? And that's all I'm going to say to him.